Program that's going to run 8 weeks in 7 states beginning in July with troops practicing certain military maneuvers.
Look, this is inspired. The Jade Helm 15 conspiracy theorists are inspired by Alex Jones, the nutjob radio guy who actually was asked to go on to ABC and didn't, for some reason over the weekend, didn't show up for that segment. Look, Alex Jones is a 9/11 truther. He's an Oklahoma City truther, and any opportunity he can to perpetuate a conspiracy theory, he will.
This is all being done to distract us from the chemtrails. The chemtrails are what's ruining us. By the way, the thing that kills me about conspiracy theorists is they believe that they reflect like a higher intelligence or a higher skepticism or a sense of awareness, when in fact every conspiracy theorist you know is gullible. They're the guys that always forward you the email that's been forwarded 1,000 times.
I'm just saying.
And I'm just saying, I'm just raising questions. And they're always talking about false flag operations. And they're so insulting and cruel, like Alex Jones, saying that what happened in Boston, after when the bodies were still fresh, was a false flag operation performed by the FBI. While these people are mourning their dead, they're the worst and they're the most gullible and the dumbest people. I can't stand them.
I just don't even talking about Abbott, the current governor. I actually think that they're in a position of responsibility to give some tough love. So, what you just said about Alex Jones, nut job, this is not true. That actually should have come from them.
Agreed.
That should not from the five. I mean, the five, we can.
Who are we?
Who are we?
Yeah, who are we?
Exactly.
Who are the five but a bunch of teleprompter reading puppets?
They
who are
can't
told
even
what
read
to
the
say.
teleprompter.
Right, she said Judd Helm. Yeah, and I mean, that just sums up what we're dealing with. You know, kind of two-bit morons talking on TV about, I don't know, nothing. They're just trying to cover up the fact. One, they talk about false flags. How many times have we exposed different false flags? Let's go look at the Boston bombing, for instance.
And not only that, someone that they have on their panel plenty of times, Judge Napolitano, was the one that talks about how
the FBI entraps people.
At least 17 of the terror attacks.
Well, and that was a couple years ago. It's been more since then.
Yeah.
I mean, every time there's always a new, it's a drill, and then they catch somebody and it's done by an informant. It always does it. Well, here, the Boston Marathon bombings. So it says here they took place at 2:49 p.m. Eastern on April 15, 2013. Then the Boston Globe comes out with a tweet at 2:53, and you can zoom in on that right there, 2:53, 2:49, I'll put them together. And they go, there will be a controlled explosion opposite the library within 1 minute as part of bomb squad activities. Well, how did the bomb squad know there were bombs over at the library like 4 minutes after the bombings went off? Don't you think they were there helping people? No, the bomb squad was finding more bombs all of a sudden.
Right, but then it turns out it wasn't a bomb, it was just some construction going on or something.
Exactly, but they put that out. It was officials, and then officials, there they are. And then we had the Boston Marathon runner. Police warned of training exercise, and Anthony Gucciardi put this out the same day at 6:02. And the guy was talking about bomb sniffing dogs that were already on the scene before explosions. We interviewed the guy. He went out on local media and talked about this.
And talked about it immediately without any. He had never talked to us initially. He said this on his own,
Crazy
his own
conspiracy
volition,
theorist.
that he didn't think that there was anything wrong with it because there was someone there at the end of the race saying, "Don't worry about the drill." And
right, and so there we just kind of blew away that, and then talking about Oklahoma City. We've exhausted, I think, the amount of coverage we could do on Oklahoma City. We've carried films on it. Alex has done films on it. I've watched the footage myself that was being shot by the news crew saying, look, there's a second and third bomb inside. We're going to go get them. And then it became a truck bomb. Or it became a car bomb and then a truck bomb.
Right.
It just magically changes to fit the narrative, just like the Obama killing. Everything changed to fit the narrative. So it's like...
And it comes out later, and now NBC is also saying that, yeah, Cy Hirsch is right. We can second his account of what happened. We've done our own investigation as well. And just like you say, it's always moving the goalposts.
And he's being attacked as a conspiracy theorist.
Absolutely.
So that's their big attack. They have to go out and say conspiracy theorists. Now, here's Alex Jones from yesterday talking about how he met with Greg Abbott's, I think it's his press secretary, or one of his right-hand guy. He's on there on stage with him. I forget the guy's name right off the top of my head. I was putting all this together last minute. But let's go to Alex right now talking about what he thinks about this, and he talks about the ABC media scam that they pulled on him. So here it is.
If you go to the top of drudgereport.com, you see that Jade Helm is the top story. Texas bristles at Obama invasion. Fears fester. Rand Paul plays down comments on military exercise. Governor working to calm the public. I just so happened, as fate would have it, to be downtown this morning, and I ran into Daniel Hodge, the chief of staff for Governor Greg Abbott. And I talked to him a few weeks ago, but then I just so happened to run into him and talk to him for a few minutes. We're picturing him there behind the governor from the Texas Tribune photo. And I said, what do you think of this whole Jade Helm thing? He said, well, we just put out the facts. We're going to guard people's basic rights, and we're just moving on. The media wants to make stuff up they can. We're going to worry about the new legislature and trying to get more jobs to Texas and to keep taxes low. And I went on to talk about the hoax they ran, claiming that I wouldn't show up for This Week with George Stephanopoulos. He had a fill-in guest yesterday, as if I wouldn't show up to a live TV program. They said it was live. They backed out of it. They said taped. I said no. Then they sent a car right before, one text. Sent Nico a text 45 minutes before saying, where is he? Just classic. This is the type of dirty tricks these people run.
Yeah. So there's Alex answering those charges about the ABC thing, and then the governor. They were answering what their constituents were saying.
Exactly.
Saying, hey, we're concerned about this. There's
Doing
a
their
ton of
job.
people at that Bastrop meeting that were concerned about it.
So many people, and so many people here in Texas were very vocal about why are we being seen as hostile? How is this going to affect our constitutional rights, our property rights? We're very concerned about it, and that's all he said, and he didn't even want to make a big deal out of it.
And the question no one ever answers, which David Knight and I sat here last week, and for an hour we answered this question about master of the human domain, which is the final slide in the Jade Helm slides that were released by the Army that we just showed. We just took them on script and showed them to everybody. And that is a long-standing plan of geographers and psychopath Army men and PSYOP officers getting together, trying to figure out how they can have real-time battlefield intelligence for wherever the battlefield may be, which is coming to a town near you, because that's where they've been training. They've been training everywhere in the United States.
Yeah, and a lot of people are, they're attacking us and saying, well, ISIS is there, so aren't you going to be happy when they're doing these drills when ISIS attacks? Or the fact that urban unrest experts are saying that, 96% of Americans believe that there is going to be a lot of civil unrest and riots this summer. Going to be a long, hot summer of civil unrest. And so people are saying, well, aren't you going to be glad they're in place? Well, then it's just going to be the same thing, that they're running a drill when they know something else is going to happen. And we're so lucky because we were already in position.
Turns out the shooters in Texas, they were known to an FBI informant.
The FBI warned the local police hours before.
Something might happen.
Hey, this guy might show up.
And who took him out? A guy with a handgun, Second Amendment.
Right.
That's what did it. So now, this came out today with C-SPAN. Jade Helm 15 military exercises. Dan Lamont, who's a writer for the Washington Post, they bring him on, and he kind of looks like a tenderfoot. I think this guy's younger than me, even, and I kind of feel young myself these days. But, they bring him out there as the expert to talk about these military exercises, although he has been embedded with troops in Afghanistan. He's pretty well versed, but he's basically just a teleprompter reading puppet like the rest of these guys. He's getting faxes in, and they're telling him what to write. So the first clip is his explanation of Jade Helm and how this is the first ever of its kind. But then later on, he says it's routine. And then I want to play some of the callers that call in that bring up some interesting points that they don't really address. They just kind of, oh, you said something incredible that we should talk about? No, we're gonna put that over here and not talk about it.
It's like the Hillary laugh.
Exactly.
What is your point, caller?
Right, so let's go to this first clip.
Dan Lamont is a national security writer for the Washington Post, and he joins us now to talk about Jade Helm 15 and some of the concern it sparked in certain corners of the internet as well. Dan Lamont, first, what is Jade Helm? When and where is it taking place?
Okay, Jade Helm is a brand new exercise that's beginning in June. It includes about 1,200 special operations troops. It's going to span a good portion of the Southwest. Texas, Utah, Southern California, a lot of the other areas in between. And really what the military says they're looking to do is kind of work on how they interact around the public. Some of it is covert. They'll be in civilian attire and just trying to blend in. They've done other exercises that are similar, but this one kind of sticks out because it's the scope and size of it is a little bit larger.
And why is the scope and size larger? Why is it different from other ones they've done in the past?
A number of the other exercises, you'll see, 100 troops or 200 troops or something like that. But what they say is that they're looking to prepare for, long-range inserts where you'll take a helicopter from, for the sake of argument, Utah and land it in Texas, or things along those lines. I mean, they're trying to prepare for future operations that may or may not come up overseas, and I think we can take them at face value on a lot of that.
Yeah.
So we didn't answer the question, though.
Right.
Why were there so many more troops? And
we just have to trust them, whatever they say. And he's just taking them at face value. But he says a lot of things. He says it's a brand new exercise. And then what's interesting, he talks about how they interact with the public. How is that training for overseas to interact with the public here in the United States? Wouldn't you bring in actors from other countries or autonomous robots, as we talked about last week at that training center in Fort AP Hill?
How are they going to blend in with people in countries where they don't speak the same language?
Exactly. And that's what they should be drilling. They should be going.
Or they can't read the street signs.
Right. And then they talk about later on how they might be preparing for stuff in the Pacific. The Pacific is nothing like the Southwest. There's no jungles and swamps in the Southwest, except very few pockets. So maybe over near Houston, you might find a little bit of that, and on the coast of Texas. But you're not finding swamps. It's desert. It's hilly. It's a lot different terrain than what you're going to find, say over in the Pacific. That's his excuse for explaining the Jade Helm exercise. But now, a little bit later, he talks about it again. He's saying, well, instead of it being brand new, these are routine. They do this all the time. So here's that clip.
And why is this particular exercise raising concern among people who are worried about what the military is doing in this country?
I think it really comes down to the way this news first came out in March. There were briefing slides that were posted on the internet with a real lack of context. I thought, it was cast as this devious exercise that if it wasn't going to be martial law this summer, it was going to be something where that they're setting the stage for future martial law. And I think a lot of us who cover the military, spend time around the military, we really have a hard time seeing that. There are things where you can look at it and say, hey, they didn't really tell the truth on this or that, the way a war is going or something like that. But this exercise seems pretty routine.
Yeah, it's pretty routine.
It's routine.
Before it was brand new, but now it's pretty routine that we're just going to have troops embedding themselves, trying to blend in with the public. And obviously, I don't think this guy's been covering a lot because Alex Jones has been covering this stuff for 20 years now, getting video footage, showing them setting up checkpoints. Hey, I'm an American citizen. Please don't put me in the camp. And then we have the gun confiscation drills, or not drills, they actually went live in Katrina where they were gun confiscating. And then now it's wellness checks where they're going to go door to door and we're just going to perform wellness checks. That's the new drill. And then we had the dirty bomb drill in Richmond, Virginia, where they were going against people who said they're sovereign citizens. They're trucking in 3%er trucks. I mean, how are we not supposed to freak out and go, hey, wait a minute, we should start questioning what our government's doing?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that the media is really trying to downplay this. Oh, it's routine, it's completely normal. I mean, they're bringing in C-SPAN again. It was last week, now again this week. Just just roll out their experts to just placate the massive amount of people who are concerned about this exercise, and they continue to say martial law, and oh, that's ridiculous, we wouldn't do that. But no one is talking about, I mean, you guys nailed it last week, that this is part of the larger agenda to expand the surveillance state.
It's another notch in the pegboard.
Domain.
It's a notch in the pegboard. They're going up one step at a time. They're gathering more intelligence. Who's going to work with us? Who's not going to work with us? Let's grab all their Facebook accounts. Let's grab all their tweets. These are the people we want to watch in the future. These people might start fomenting unrest or whatever. But now I want to go to the callers. And what's interesting is the callers were across the board. Some people were definitely skeptical of the drill and what it was. And a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, it was about 50-50. And then about half of them were like, I don't see what the big deal is. These people must be racist because they don't want this happening. That's it. If you don't like you're a racist because it's Obama, and that's the only thing they can throw at you is if you're racist. But let's go to the first caller that I want to play, and he is from New Jersey, and he's talking about drills that coincide with some of these training seminars where there's a training going on, it's a drill, and then something happens that goes live. So let's go to that one.
Tom is in Bedminster, New Jersey. Line for Independence. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for C-SPAN. Could I please ask about the coincidence of drills with real-world events? Here's an example. President Reagan's assassination attempt, at the time that occurred, there was a presidential succession drill occurring. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not familiar with the specifics of that, no.
Let me try another one. On 9/11,